If you want to get a doorbell that supports all of Apple's doorbell features like notifications on your TV, and you want HomeKit secure video where your recordings are stored securely in iCloud, you basically have two options here in North America, and that's a choice between the Belkin Wemo Doorbell and the Logitech Circle View Doorbell. My name's Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel all about building an effective Apple smart home. In this video, I'm going to break down all of the details of why you would want one or the other. And also thanks to Eve for sponsoring a part of this video. More on them in a minute. Now, I hinted at already the software you touch as a user on either of these doorbells is basically identical. You add them directly in Apple's Home app. There's no need to download another app to manage either doorbell. And as far as price, the Belkin Wemo is currently $249, where the Logitech Circle View is only $199. But how does the hardware compare, and are you really getting anything for an extra $50? Both doorbells shoot vertical 3x4 video, which helps in seeing packages and more of a person than a landscape view would. Well, they both claim to have HDR video. I find the Logitech Circle View looks better in low light videos, but the Belkin Wemo Doorbell has a noticeably wider field of view at 178 degrees versus 160 degrees with the Logitech Circle View. In practice, this means that I can see more packages right at the base of my door with the Belkin Wemo Doorbell. Now, with hardware, the Logitech Circle View Doorbell has been plagued with another big issue, and that's overheating. People who install this doorbell in direct sunlight have complained of it going offline due to overheating. This led Logitech to add a software update to address the issue, but I've still heard complaints about overheating with other Logitech Circle View doorbells in the wild. I live in Illinois in a cooler climate in the US, and my doorbell is shaded by a front porch. So I never really saw my doorbell go offline, but maybe once. But if you live somewhere with direct sunlight on your doorbell or a warmer climate, these are definitely factors to consider. But for me, I couldn't get my Belkin Wemo doorbell to work at all when I first got it. And let me explain what went wrong and how I actually fixed it. But first, thanks to Eve for sponsoring this video. Eve makes quality products for your Apple smart home. One of my favorites is the Eve Room Sensor. This monitors temperature, humidity, and air quality with high quality hardware inside, so you know the readings are accurate. It has an e-ink display on the outside, which means even people who aren't part of your Apple smart home can still see the live readings at any time. You can also use the Eve app to view historical charts, which can be great for spotting and troubleshooting problems with heating or cooling in your home. For places in my home that don't always get good ventilation, I like using Eve Room's air quality monitor to make sure harmful VOCs aren't building up in the air. And if levels get too high, we can use a fan, air purifier, or open a window to address the problem. Humidity is another part of your air quality Eve Room tracks. Low humidity can trigger throat or eye or skin conditions, while high humidity can increase the risk of allergies and things like asthma. Like many of Eve's products, Eve Room is future-proof, using the latest Thread wireless technology for reliable communication with Apple's HomeKit. And when the new Matter smart home standard arrives, Eve plans to support that, making Eve Room compatible with all the major smart home controllers and assistants. To learn more about the Eve Room, Eve's products that support Thread, and Matter, check out links in the description below. And thanks again to Eve for sponsoring this video. Now, earlier this year, Belkin released their new Wemo Doorbell, and as a YouTuber, I got early access to a review unit, and I was excited to try it out. But there was one small problem. I couldn't ever get the doorbell to connect to my Wi-Fi. Then I made a video about all the steps I tried and how I worked directly with Belkin and still couldn't get the doorbell to work. A lot of you guys chimed in with your suggestions of what to try, and they were all very thoughtful, but none of them worked. But then I got a comment from Arsen Hovanhasian. Hovanhasian. I'm really sorry about the name pronunciation there. But he said that he cracked the code. He had the same exact issue and realized that removing special characters from his Wi-Fi password solved the issue. Thanks to my fancy new Ubiquiti Wi-Fi network, which I've talked about in other videos, it's easy to set up multiple Wi-Fi SSIDs. After reconfirming that it wouldn't in fact connect to my existing network, I created a new wireless network just for the doorbell with a special password. I connected my iPhone to this Wi-Fi network and used it to set up the doorbell. It worked immediately on the first try. Trey Eli, I'm sorry about the name pronunciation again, reached out to me on Twitter about this issue with his doorbell, and I asked him to try the same concept, and it worked for him. I relayed this information to Belkin, but they did not find conclusive evidence to say this is an issue they will fix in a software update. But either way, there are some steps you should consider for adding the Belkin Wemo to your home. But first, let's talk about another key part of setting up any doorbell, and that's the chime. Each of these doorbells comes with a chime adapter that gives you the option to use a manual chime you might have in your home. Belkin Wemo definitely wins here. Their chime adapter is way smaller and easier to set up. The Logitech one had to be mounted outside of my chime box and was just clunky to configure. But this gets me to a key difference in the setup instructions for each doorbell. This is where the Logitech wins, but you can follow the same idea for setting up the Belkin Wemo doorbell. Before you physically replace your doorbell and chime, you can plug either one of these doorbells into a micro USB cable. Do this and add the device to HomeKit before setting up the rest of the doorbell. This way, if you have issues getting the Belkin Wemo doorbell on your Wi-Fi and need to reconfigure your password or encryption standards, you can do so before ripping out your existing doorbell setup. Now, both of these doorbells are wired, which means they run off of power going to most conventional wired doorbells to also power the doorbell and the low voltage camera. And as I mentioned, you can power each of these off of a micro USB cable, but I think that's really meant for temporary setup and troubleshooting situations. For a general recommendation, I think the Belkin Wemo is the better choice. As long as you can get it connected to your Wi-Fi, well, the video doesn't quite look as pretty. It has a wider field of view and it doesn't have the overheating issues that the Logitech has. Of course, you can find links to both doorbells in the description. But if you don't have a wired doorbell spot, this might lead you to look at alternatives. If you want HomeKit Secure Video, Eve, who kindly sponsored part of this video, happened to also make an outdoor camera that can replace a floodlight or outdoor light fixture. You won't get the HomeKit doorbell features there, but you still get the video surveillance. I've also heard good things about the Nest wireless doorbell, which you can tie into HomeKit with a Starling Home Hub. I use a Starling Home Hub to get my Nest thermostat to work with HomeKit, and if HomeKit support isn't as much of a priority, you can wait for the Matter standard, which might enable the Nest doorbell to talk to Apple HomeKit on its own. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, if that new future of Matter in the smart home sounds interesting to you, I recently made a video breaking down some of the details of what it might look like in a video linked somewhere here on the screen. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.